Buffmetal back with another video, and the topic of today's rant: 5 philosophical quotes that are extremely metal in nature. What is going on, guys? Yeah, so this comes off the heels of that video that I did a while back about my 5 favorite books, and I was thinking about those, and basically, I guess what was at the core of all the books that I loved is that I like things that have a bit of philosophy in them, things that feel like they have something to give the reader back, some life lessons and whatnot that you can take with you into your life and use in daily practice. So I figured it would be cool to do 5 quotes that feel extremely metal, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to talk philosophy. I am not a philosopher by any means. I am a idiot, for the most part. I am just a dude who likes metal, and I like philosophy. I am not like an expert. There are tons of channels that are experts on this stuff, but I got 5 quotes here, that I think might do you well, and they feel metal as hell. And since this is a metal channel, quick shout out to 2 albums, before we get into it, that feel like, it feels like the artist is grounded in some kind of strange philosophy of their own. First, Beherit, Drawing Down the Moon. The satanic presence, the essence of this like cosmic, I don't even know what, like this cosmic evil that is plaguing, the earth or whatever, or the moon, I guess, in the case of this album. But man, you want to talk about a metal album that just feels like there's something else to it. There's something deeper. There's some deep satanic like core. Dude, Drawing Down the Moon. This has become one of my favorite albums, man. Even at the gym, I've been listening to this, and it hits well there, too. So if you're a fan of, that Finnish style of black metal, you can't go wrong with this. But you guys already know Beherit. Come on. And one more, a true Norwegian black metal band. Let's go with Ildjarn, man. So this guy posted his philosophy about life, and I don't want to say he got canceled, but he might as well have. It was a wild take, and I certainly don't agree, but at least the dude, it's kind of like that scene in Big Lebowski where the dude's like, oh, man, they're nihilists. Well, at least, the fascists, they have like an ethos or whatever. You know what I mean? They have a creed, like he has that quote, and I guess that's how you could feel about Ildjarn, right? This is very dark, bleak. The philosophy of the work of Ildjarn feels like it was just meant to give you the most cutting, bleak, straightforward, nasty black metal, uncompromising black metal. And it feels like it's definitely grounded in some kind of belief system, the dude who made it. So shout out to Ildjarn. Awesome project. This is the self-titled. If you've never checked this out, go check it out. It'll you might like it, you might hate it. Wouldn't blame you really either way. But Beherit, who couldn't like that? Now, let's get into the 5 quotes that I feel like capture the metal philosophy pretty well. Starting with one from the man himself, and I'm sure the talk all the smack you want might be a cliche one to come in with, but let's go with Nietzsche. All right, from Friedrich Nietzsche from Beyond Good and Evil. And I quote, this is one of my favorite quotes of all time: "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you." End quote. That's one of my favorite quotes of all time, and one of the ones that I think about the most, because you'll find that people who are really into politics, like cancel culture, like things that are inherently like, we are the good guys, you are the bad guys. There are bad guys out there and we need to destroy them. I find that is the worst philosophy to follow, because he who fights monsters becomes a monster himself 10 times out of 10. I see it all the time. All my friends, who get really into kind of the good guy crusade of becoming the patron saint of this group or that, they turn into douchebags. They turn into dicks, So I guess what I'm saying with this quote is, don't spend all your time fighting monsters in battles that, one, you can't win. Two, are there really good guys in this life? Yeah, are there really bad guys? You know what I'm saying? I think people are more of a mixed bag than that. And if you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you. So the longer you stare into that hole of hatred, the longer it stares back into you, and there becomes it's like the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail. Yeah, definitely good food for thought there, and it's a quote that I think about in life all the time. It's metal as hell, you know what I'm saying? The void, and talking all, existential like that feels extremely metal, so I figured it was a good fit for this video. The next quote we have is from, I've never actually read the book, but I read his other book, and I had it on my list of my favorite books of all time. But this is going to be from Albert Camus, and the book is The Myth of Sisyphus. Now, I have to preface this. If you don't know about the myth of Sisyphus, not talking the book, but the actual myth, basically, a dude has to push a rock uphill for all eternity. That's his punishment from the gods. I couldn't tell you the exact lore. Go ahead and do your own research on that, but I understand the story. Now the quote that I chose is, here we go: "The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy." So I think about this a lot, man. Why would Sisyphus, pushing this ball uphill for all of eternity, be happy? Well, because the destination of getting to the top of the hill is not as important as the journey of getting the ball up there, okay? So this is kind of one of my favorite quotes, because what essentially, Albert Camus is telling you is, love the process more than you love the destination, right? Hold on, let me take a sip of water. Ice cold. So here's the thing. A lot of people want to go to the gym, but they only want to go to get shredded, to get, for 9 times out of 10, it's vain reasons, things that don't really matter. And they're not learning to love the process of just showing up. This is why when people ask me for gym advice, what do you think I should do? I'm just starting to get into the gym. I always say the same thing. Don't look up plans. Don't give yourself death by information and watch a bunch of freaking videos and stuff. Instead, how about this? You go to the gym and you have fun. Mind-blowing, and it might seem kind of simple and stupid, but I guarantee you the guy who has fun going there and learns to love pushing that ball uphill will last longer in this than any person who's going just for superficial gain. You know what I'm saying? So that quote has always kind of hit me to the core, and it's something that I try and live by, because if I didn't love the process of exercise and going to the gym and working out, and I was just so obsessed with, I want abs, I want blah, 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 it's like, yeah, man, I probably wouldn't ever get it done. I would never achieve my goals, because those things don't matter as much as pushing the ball uphill. So shout out to The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. Next, this one's kind of cheating, all right? Sorry, I got some beef in my teeth from my lunch. Ooh. There we go, getting that protein down. This is a quote from Samuel Johnson. I don't know who Samuel Johnson is, but I know he has a quote at the beginning of one of my favorite books that I forgot to include on my favorite books list. I guess it was more of the most metal books list, I think is what I called it, so it really wouldn't have counted for this, because I don't know how metal the book is, but it certainly got a really metal quote at the beginning of it. And the book in question is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. All right, now when you open this bad boy up, look at my copy. This is it's all yellow and shit. I've had this for years, read it so many times. This was one of my favorite books ever growing up, as a kid, just because it was so wild and, whatever. I don't even know if I really understood it, but there's this quote when you open it up right here. It's one of the first things you'll read, and it says Dr. Johnson. It's a quote from Dr. Johnson, so Samuel Johnson. The quote goes as follows, quote, "He who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man." Whoo! Dude, and yeah, man, another quote, man, that just blows my mind, dude. It's so metal. He who makes a beast of himself, right? Like, that quote, I don't know what it is, man. I feel like it is embedded into my everyday life. Now, when I'm again, I'm sorry, guys. I know some of you might not be gym goers and stuff, but that's what I do. So, just roll with it, would you? Or if I'm making music or something like that, right? I feel that the only way I can get those things done is I turn my thinking brain off and I go animal mode. When I'm in there with the weights, I want to feel burn, pain. I want to get after it, man. I want to crush, to kill. And I'm not thinking of just being a man. I just want to sit back on the couch, be a mere mortal doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? No, make a beast of yourself, man. Get out there. Live that metal, man. Become a beast. Become a monster, you know? I find that a lot of men need that these days. A lot of men need less docility, you know, if that's the word. They need to be less docile, and they need to chase. And again, I'm not telling you how to live your life, but I just think a lot of people need to chase something. I don't know what it is for you, man. It might be, who knows? I don't even know. I'm not sure. You know, every person is different. Might be starting a band, might be getting in shape, might be, you know, starting a label, whatever the thing is. It's going to be a bitch. Dude, life is a bitch, you know, and it's hard, and everything that's cool and worth doing is going to be a pain in the ass. Make a beast of yourself and get rid of that wimpy pain that is being man, all right? Now, I don't know how much Fear and Loathing, you know, or how they choose to use that quote or why before this. It's just, if you've ever read it, it's just two dudes basically on a drug-fueled bender. But it is one of my favorite books. There's so much great prose and whatnot in it. And Hunter Thompson, legend. Anyways, that's it. I love that quote. If you've never read Fear and Loathing, it's certainly worth checking out. But anyways, let's get on to number 4. This next one, it's coming from the man himself, Marcus Aurelius, from the book Meditations. This is, again, it's one of those books that when I found it and kind of leaned in a bit, and you know, am I an expert on meditations? No, but when I feel like I'm at a point where I understand it. It's something that I feel like you can pick up and just kind of skim. You know what I mean? That's how I treated it. I was never like a hardcore reader, so just you know, take my expertise with a grain of salt. I'm certainly, like I've said, not an expert, but he has changed my life, and you know, kind of learning to channel emotion and self-regulate and not get upset about things. A lot of my like grounding of that comes from kind of studying a bit of Marcus Aurelius and Meditations. So we're going to do a quote from that very book. Let me take a sip of water. All right. And I quote, number 4, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." All right. Now, this is one that I feel like, again, everybody needs to hear. Okay. This is one of those things that's like, whatever your goal is in life, whether it's a creative thing like being in a band, you know what I would do if I was in a band? I'd start a YouTube, which is literally exactly what I'm doing, man. You know, I don't necessarily want to make a YouTube, I guess I do. I've actually really come to love this, but at the same time, it's like, I understand that is the way. It was an obstacle I had to get over, right? But at the same time, the obstacle is the way. I mean, there are other books literally with that title. I think by Ryan Holiday, who's a big Stoic philosopher on YouTube. I think his book is called The Obstacle is the Way. And that's essentially what this quote is getting at. Whatever the thing is that's stopping you from getting whatever it is you want out of life, that is the thing you need to push through, okay? You need to constantly be in the mode of like, all right, there's an obstacle here. How do I get around it? Problem solving. You know, all life is figuring out puzzles and figuring out patterns and things that work and don't work for you. And I think a lot of people get hung up on the action part, right? You come to a roadblock, and instead of hurdling that bitch, you stop before it and you kind of take a second and you look at it. And then maybe you look at a different street and you think maybe it'd be easier just to try and cut around. But I promise you, there's going to be a roadblock when you try and cut around that way too. Like, the hardest thing to do is the thing usually that you have to do. Bummer, but that's what life is, dude. You know what I'm saying? So, again, going back to it, make a beast out of yourself, dude. Don't get caught up in that, you know, in that obstacle. Don't let that obstacle define you, you know. That's some of the best advice ever. So highly recommend that you check out Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. And that's a phenomenal quote. All right, we got one last one. And this one's cheating a little bit because I've read many books in the series, you know, or graphic novels or comics or whatever you want to say. But it's from the movie, and we're talking Batman. I wanted to put Batman on here because Batman has so many of my favorite philosophical takes ever. When I was on a Zoom call yesterday with Andrew Diamond. I think it's like Black Diamond something. Oh man, I'm forgetting his username. But with Andrew, I did a kid on YouTube. I did a crossover with. I gave him some Batman quotes, you know, and one of the ones I gave him is the one I'm about to read you, and it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. And I quote from Batman Begins: "The training is nothing. The will is everything. The will to act." You know, this is when Ra's al Ghul is training Bruce in the mountains, and basically he's explaining that, yeah, all this training and all this stuff doesn't really mean much. It's what's inside the man, the will to do, the will to act, the will to move on the day, to advance forth, right? It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. I think about that all the time, you know, the will to act. And it might be the most important thing above philosophy, above anything else. Again, someone who goes to the gym and has no training in the gym, no anything, but they have the will to just go, will get more gains than the guy who studied his ass off at before going and then burnt himself out on information, and then you get there and your head's spinning, you got all this crap. No, let your intuition guide you. Let the will guide you. You know, I think that is infinitely more valuable than training or information or anything like that, you know. So that's it. That's all I wanted to talk today, was a little bit of metal-ass philosophy, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think I'm going to put out one more video today with a little bit of an announcement. I'm cooking something up. Yeah, I got a little project, and it might involve you guys. I hope it involves you guys, you know, but we'll be talking about that in a short bit later this afternoon. I got a Zoom call with Dom coming up. I'm hopping on his channel as well, so look out for that. But regardless, live the metal, guys. Hooray!